Hey everybody, welcome live to the Jim Masters Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks so much for joining us here at Levity Hall. We love hearing from everybody all around the world. It means the world to us when you write and you comment and you share the levity with all of us here. And boy, we have some amazing guests who are going to be doing that. They've been doing it in their incredible careers for a long time. Look at the wonderful guest list we have here on the Jim Masters Show today. Yes, we're going to be remembering and celebrating the iconic, beloved, and groundbreaking soap opera, daytime drama, Ryan's Hope, with special guests. Tom Lisanti is joining us, and he has penned this extraordinary book that we're very excited about. Matter of fact, I have my copy here. It's a real page turner. If you love the soaps, you love the daytime dramas, you love all of the actors, actresses, and some of the behind the scenes of the shows, and in this case, celebrating with an oral history of daytime groundbreaking soap, Ryan's Hope, you're definitely going to want to get this book. That is Tom. That's actually a great shot of Tom on this particular episode of our show. He is here, and we are, again, going to be celebrating Ryan's Hope, going to be talking about some of the famous people and fabulous people who've stopped by, through the years and have told their stories. There is the cast right there. And again, the book is really something very, very special. And this has been a labor of love for Tom. Tom loves 60s and 70s. He's an author, a writer. He's a prolific film historian. He loves television. Of course, I love television as well, working in the industry. And look at some of these shots we have of some of your favorites there, of course, is Ilene, and she was Delia, and played it to the max. Great, great, great shots we have here. And you know who's here as well? Malcolm Groome, who was Patrick Ryan. And Dr. Faith is here as well. Dr. Faith Coleridge. This is Karen Morris-Gowdy, who is married to Kurt Gowdy, the legendary sports announcer. I've always been a huge fan of him. So this is extra exciting. Take a look at some of these cool shots we have as well that have been sent our way. We're going to be sharing some of these. Yeah. So some of your favorites from Ryan's Hope and much more. Ryan's Hope is the claim to fame on this episode. However, they, of course, are epic actors and actresses, and they've been in so many other productions and shows and specials and all kinds of cool things. I see a lot of comments coming in as well. We thank you very much for making us a part of your day. We're going to welcome them here on the show. But first, let me tell you just a little bit about some of the backgrounds, because it's really extraordinary. Karen Morris-Gowdy, she was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming. American actress, best known for her role as Dr. Faith Coleridge Desmond, yes, on Ryan's Hope, which she played from 78 to 84, and then again in 89. Did you know she was crowned America's Junior Miss in 74? She served as MC of the preliminary trials or the finals in 79 and 92, and as judge in 80 and 83, and was also on the board of directors from 81 to 90. She's appeared in amounts of commercials, lots of commercials, and married Kurt Gowdy Jr., son of Hall of Famer sportscaster Kurt Gowdy. Yes, and they have 3 children. Yeah, and that's just the short list. She's a phenomenal actress and humanitarian. Malcolm Groome originated the character of Pat Ryan when Ryan's Hope premiered in 1975, continued the role until 78. He returned again in 83, and was with the show when it went off the air. The final sign-off in 1989. He grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, in a military family, growing up in all areas of the country, returning to his native North Carolina to study acting. He's got a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, graduating Phi Beta Kappa. While there, he gained national attention when he created the role of Henry David Thoreau in the world premiere of The Night Thoreau Spent in Jail at the Carolina Playmakers. Since then, theater credits include, of course, Grease on Broadway with Ilene Kristen, and The Normal Heart, the title role of Billy Irish with the Manhattan Theater Club, and numerous appearances off Broadway, regional, Folgers Theater, Ford's Theater, and so much more. Also seen on Hill Street Blues, 30-something, Knots Landing, 8 is Enough, The New Odd Couple, and Grey's Anatomy, ER, NYPD Blue, Chicago Hope, Ally McBeal, The Practice, The West Wing, Malcolm in the Middle, which of course is appropriate, and many other quality shows. And that's just the short list of what he has done. And then we're going to move on to this fabulous person who has been a guest on our show. She's a hoot, she's a holler, she's very passionate, she's very compassionate. Everybody loves Ilene. She's just one of those great people. She's also one of my most famous faces in daytime television history. She has charmed, captivated, perplexed audiences for years. Viewers best know her, of course, as Delia Reed from, of course, Ryan's Hope. And that's Delia Reed, Ryan Coleridge, Crane Coleridge on the daytime drama Ryan's Hope, a role which she originated in the first episode and portrayed on and off for about 14 years. She was also known for appearances on other shows like Loving and, of course, Another World with Mac and Rachel and Ada. Most recently, she left viewers transfixed with her twice Emmy-nominated role as the word-twisting and outrageous Roxy Balsam on One Life to Live. Her artistic excellence enabled her opportunities to expand her career path, including multiple primetime guest appearances, roles in several independent films, professional singing, songwriting, extensive stage work, including a role in the original production of Grease, as we mentioned as well. And again, that is just the short list here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. And of course, our guest who wrote this fabulous book, well, he's got a wonderful background as well, which we're going to share with you right now, just a little bit. This is just the short lists, folks, of their incredible backgrounds. Tom Lisanti, award-winning author, film historian specializing in 60s and 70s film and television. He began writing professionally in 1998. His newest book, Ryan's Hope, an oral history of daytime's groundbreaking soap from Citadel Press, Kensington Books, was released just a matter of weeks ago. And his next book, Dueling Harlows, The Race to Bring the Actress Life to the Silver Screen, is coming out in 2024. He co-wrote with former actress Gail Gerber her memoir, Trippin' with Terry Southern, What I Think I Remember, which won the Independent Publisher Book Award. That's the silver medal for Best Memoir in 2010. And in 2012, he appeared on the Turner Classic Movies, co-hosting with Ben Mankiewicz a week of 1960s beach movies, and is featured in the documentary The Green Girl about actress Susan Oliver. He has been interviewed on a number of programs as well, and he writes occasionally for magazines including Cinema Retro, Cinema of the 70s, Films of the Golden Age, Scary Monsters. And again, that is just the short list of his incredible background as well. Maybe some little tidbits there you didn't know about our special guests. Without further ado, it's like, this is your life. Here's Tom, and here's Ilene for you, and here's Karen, and here's Malcolm. Welcome to the Master Show Live, gang.
Thank you.
Did it bring back some memories hearing some of the incredible work that you guys have been part of, even aside from Ryan's Hope?
We're getting some feedback.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So you can
What
hear
really
me,
brought
right?
back memories was Tom's book. That brought back so many memories. Such a beautiful work, Tom.
Thank you.
That book. Yeah. Just
So how did that
comforting.
come about? Tom? Tell us about the book itself.
As you mentioned, I interviewed a lot of actors and actresses for books about film and TV in the 60s and 70s. And I was a huge Ryan's Hope fan. I started watching it in 1980 when I was a college student, a freshman at NASA Community College on Long Island. And other than Ryan's Hope and Texas were the only two soaps I really watched. My friends were watching General Hospital like in 1980, and I could care less about Luke and Laura. I liked Siobhan and Joe on Ryan's Hope. They were my Luke and Laura. And then just fast forward in the late 1990s, early 2000s, I met through my partner, a friend of his who was an agent. And on the street, we met Ilene, and he introduced me, and I was like, my legs were like rubber, and I was meeting the Ilene Kristen. I was like, oh my God, it's Delia. And over the years, I would see Ilene, and she used to say to me, well, you should do a book on Ryan's Hope. And I always shied away from it because Claire Labine was alive, and I just she was the co-creator with Paul Mayer. And I just presumed they were going to do, she was write her own book, and she never did. And I sort of said, well, why not give it a try? And I interviewed Ilene, and then I interviewed Roscoe Bourne. And then I started interviewing, crew, other actors and actresses. And then at the last second, I never had an agent. And Lee Sobel became my agent, and he said, I think I could sell this. And I was shocked because I thought it was too nichey. But he did, and he sold it to Kensington's Press, and here we are. And I have to say, at the very last second, quick story, I never like calling people because I think it's like an intrusion. I usually find their email or write them a letter. And Karen, I really wanted to interview Karen. We were down to the last second, and my friend said, just, if you won't call us, send her a text. So I had the number, and I texted her, and she responded to me right away. And I'm so glad, because we got her in right under the wire.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be a part of this.
I think the echo comes when Malcolm is on. You hear it now when Malcolm is back on. So
Yeah.
you have a speaker or something that's reverberating, Malcolm, or maybe need headphones or earbuds. It's only happening when you're on. So we'll do an example. See, no, it's gone with him not on, but when he comes back on, boom, there it is. So there's something on your end that's feeding back.
I'm sorry, I don't know what it could be.
It's strange, yeah. It's yeah, that could work.
Yeah,
Plug
let
it
me
into your-
try.
Yeah, try that, and we'll get you set up, and we'll have you come back. So the book itself, Tom, this has been a labor of love. When did you, start putting pen to paper, and how long did it take to be able to do it and compile all the information and talk to, all the stars and people involved with Ryan's Hope?
I started in around about 2016, and then I got sidetracked by another book I did about Cara Lindley, who's my favorite actress from the Poseidon Adventure. And then and then in that period, Claire had passed away, or I think she may have passed away right when I started it or something. And I just started to go full steam ahead, and using Ilene and Roscoe as my calling card, I went to Paul Mayer, his daughters, and I found his one daughter, Daisy, who's a TV director, and she's the youngest daughter. And she said, this is great, but she goes, I'm not going to be able to help you, but my older sisters, Rachel and Ruth, can. And so I contacted Rachel. She gave me the contact for Rachel and Ruth, and they were like super helpful, and they were so supportive. So having their support prodded me on to do the book, and they participated. They're in the book. They're interviewed. So I wanted somebody from either Claire's family or Paul's family to sort of like give their stamp of approval. And I did reach Claire Labine's daughter, Eleanor, who also gave her approval, but she just declined to participate in the book. So she wasn't interviewed, but she did know about it, and she did give her blessing.
So Ilene and Karen, when you guys first heard about this book that was developing, that Tom was putting together, what was your first initial reaction? And obviously being involved in it was kind of exciting. Ilene?
Well, I was kind of in on it from the very beginning. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm so surprised.
You did the forward, right?
I did the forward, yeah.
Loved that.
Oh, thank you. I actually have the shoes. I on these peels.
I remember those shoes.
Yeah, I wore them a lot. But so I just knew that Tom had a big job ahead of him, just to track down people. And, he had his hands full. And I don't know how you write about so many storylines like Tom had to do and conquer. It's out of my realm. I can write artistic little, forwards, but I don't know if I can ever go over all those storylines and connect them with all the other interconnected storylines, which Tom is able to do. It's quite miraculous.
It really, really is. Karen, how about for you?
Said earlier, I came in at the last, that I didn't know anything about it. And then when I got that text, it just brought back so many memories that I think that I had totally forgotten. And it was almost like a part of my life that was put away somewhere. So even being the day of talking with Tom, our first interview, was absolutely wonderful. It just brought back all these memories of Malcolm, of Eileen, of Nancy, of Earl, of Ron, Helen, Bernie. It just, all these memories came flooding back, and of what a wonderful experience we all had on that show. And it was something really special.
Absolutely. And Malcolm, how about for you, when you heard that Tom was putting this great book together celebrating Ryan's Hope? I think your mic is muted. You just have to unmute the mic. There's a little area there that says unmute. So if you, there's a little, you see next to your name, it's got your microphone, then it has a cross through it. That means it's muted. It's like, welcome to the whole new world, right? Paramount Studios, wardrobe and makeup and lighting and all those stuff. Welcome to the new world. Welcome to the new world. It's just there's a little thing that'll say unmute next to the thing. So there, he's figuring it out. So tell us again more about the book, and thanks for sending the book again. Really, Tom, this is something quite special, and take a moment, folks. Don't rush through it, because when you read it and you read it more than once, you pick up little nuggets that you don't get the first time. Why did you think it was important to write this oral history on this specific daytime drama? What was it about Ryan's Hope for you individually that spoke to you, where you wanted to pay this amount of time and attention to celebrating it?
Well, like I said, I started watching the show in 1980, and I was sort of like, there were people I knew who watched Ryan's Hope, but it was always overshadowed by General Hospital, All My Children, One Life to Live. And, it went off the air in 89, and I thought it shouldn't have gone off the air. There are other soaps I thought were much worse than Ryan's Hope, like Loving, that remained on the air longer. So it came to a point, but it was 4 soaps were left. And I'm on all these, I was on, when SoapNet reran Ryan's Hope in the early 2000s, I was on these soap boards. I mean, there's all these old fans and new fans talking about the show and the characters and stuff. And there was an audience out there. And then when Facebook started, there's like 4 or 5 Ryan's Hope pages dedicated to Ryan's Hope. So I knew there were people out there that loved the show, because it was a little different. It was a lot different, actually. The Irish, family above a bar was very homey, wasn't as outrageous as some of the other shows. And even like when it gets criticized for bringing in like the wealthy Kirkland family or the Dubujaks, they weren't out to take over the world like the court, on some others, the Cassadines and General Hospital and some of these other shows. They tried to make them like the Kirklands. They were in real estate. They were trying to buy up air rights in New York City. That's plausible. It's not like a nice princess, freeze the world, and it wasn't as outrageous. So I decided, I thought it just deserved, to be, it deserved to be remembered more than I thought it was. And based on the number of people that I was speaking to on, like I said, these message boards and on Facebook and stuff. And I had the experience of interviewing people for various books and stuff. The only thing I did try to, I have gotten some little disgruntled fans and stuff but I kind of say in the preface that to try to do a book on a soap opera that lasted 13 years, and you're limited really to 300 to 400 pages, storylines and characters are going to get short shrifted. And I say right off, the interviewees get the focus. So anybody who spoke with me, their characters and their storylines got more of the focus than people who did not speak with me, or their story. So those storylines, I mentioned all the biggies. But again, I try to focus it on the interviewees. So there are some people saying, well, why didn't you write more about the death of Edmund? Why didn't you write more about Mary? It's like, well, Mary wouldn't speak to me. All 4 Marys wouldn't speak to me. So, what can I do?
Is it that sometimes when people do a project, and the project wraps, or their role in it wraps, they move on, they're done with it, and they emotionally disconnect from it, and they've gone on to other things in their life? Is that what sometimes happens? So they don't go back, or they don't look back on it? Did you find that to be the case sometimes?
Yes, I think. Well, yeah, from the people who told me no, yes, I think a lot of that was, most of it was that reason, or some of them no reason. And then there was a lot of people I wrote to that just I didn't respond. So either through direct connections, or through like a manager or a rep. So I don't know, but I got almost 50 people, so I was happy. I mean, I did get and I got a good array of them from the beginning of the show to the end of the show. So, and in the middle. So I was happy with the people who said yes.
Malcolm, welcome back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, oh wow, it's coming through nice and clear now.
I had to reload the page. It said my browser was blocking my microphone for some reason. So. Technology, love it.
Hey, technology, I tell you, it'll make or break you.
Yeah.
It's your friend or your foe.
Exactly.
When you had first heard about the book that Tom was penning and Ilene was doing the forward for, tell us about your interest in being, involved.
Well, I was so excited. We all loved the show so much that, and there had been a resurgence with SoapNet and YouTube. And then with Tom's book, it felt like this show is finally getting honored for the legacy that it created. And I was very excited about it and very happy to share, with Tom, whatever I could. I just have to say his synopses throughout the book, it's like you told 14 years of story, Tom. I just couldn't believe how detailed. And then your commentary as well was just beautiful. And your humor that you injected. Yeah.
I tried to become at it more as a journalist, but my opinions did slip in.
That was great.
So let's talk about how you guys even got involved with Ryan's Hope. Ilene, what was your opportunity? What was your audition like? How did this present itself for you?
Well, I had been doing Grease for 2.5 years.
Yes.
And I kind of thought my trajectory was more musical comedy. And I ended up doing, I quit Grease in the fall of, I guess it was 1974, or I guess it must have been 74. Anyway, to make a long story short, when my agent, told me about the show, I said, nah, I want to be on a sitcom. That's what I really want. He goes, oh, don't worry. This show won't last longer than 6 months. And the key 2 words in this equation was Shirley Rich, the casting person, who I'm not sure if there was ever really a better casting person. And someone who was so thoughtful about who she brought in and didn't try to crowd the scene with, hundreds of actors. She's very, very specific. And I remember coming in to see her, and I was dressed completely in hippie gear because I was doing I was playing like a Janis Joplin character in a reading of a play. And she said, you are so right for this character, but do not wear that when you meet Claire and Paul. Don't wear that. So I came back to meet Claire and Paul, and God bless Shirley, because she would talk to them. So when you walked in the room, they kind of knew a lot about you. And it was so warm. It felt so warm when I walked in the door. I remember Claire going like this, and like jabbing Paul and everything. And so that was a lovely meeting. And then I had one other audition, which was the the screen test, and I wore the same thing that I wore going to see them. And it was white, and you're really not supposed to wear white, but nobody told me not to wear white. And so it flares on camera a bit, But during my audition, which I had rehearsed with the actor who was auditioning with me, my button flew off my shirt, and I just kept on going. And I think that was the moment that they decided I was definitely Delia.
How much of Delia was you and you were Delia when you really took on that character? Because so many people talk about the fact that they love that you played that role, because you played that role to the max and beyond.
Well, not a lot. I'm a very, I'm not saying that I'm quiet. I had a very, very good upbringing, very little drama in my home life. So all my drama was always on the stage. And this was a character that was very foreign to me, but it was also a character that I felt that I could do. And I based this character on, I'm not going to mention her name, but she was the wife of a musician that I knew. And she was very troubled and like a desperate child woman. And I based it on her. And she ended up committing suicide, or they're not sure if it was suicide or it was kind of sketchy. But she was very, very troubled. And that's who I based it on.
You did a wonderful job. And Karen, how about you? What was your audition? What was your opportunity like to be a part of Ryan's Hope with your incredible background as well?
Malcolm and Eileen, Pat and Delia, they had already established. Faith had been established, but I was, I think, the fourth person to play Faith.
I think the third.
Was I the third?
I think so.
I don't know. I was the best.
Oh,
right?
no, fourth because of Nancy Barrett in there for just a little bit. Remember, for 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's right.
Kathy Hicks, first Faith
So
Catlin.
Kathy got
Catlin.
the opportunity.
Faith Catlin was the first.
Oh, right. Faith Catlin. She was the
Then
first.
Catherine Hicks, and then I guess Nancy Barrett, and then you.
No, it was Faith Catlin, Nancy Barrett.
Right.
Kathy
And
Hicks.
Kathy
Yeah,
Hicks.
I was
yeah.
right after Kathy Hicks because she got the opportunity to go on Broadway with in tribute with Jack Lemmon. And so, right, they needed somebody Faith right away. And I wasn't terribly experienced. I'd done commercials, but certainly not a 3-camera soap. So I was baptism by fire. They called me, and it was the height of the storyline between Delia and Pat and Tom. So I was kind of thrown into a huge storyline, and everybody was incredibly supportive. We got through it. It was a big storyline. It was when you were playing blind. Oh, those were great. Yeah. So that was my baptism by fire.
So you did a lot of commercials prior, you were saying.
Yes,
Lots of
yes.
commercials, right? Did
So
you enjoy that?
I loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it, but it's very different. You go in for a day and you shoot off one camera,
Right.
and you get residuals. This
Gotcha.
doing a soap is very different.
Yeah.
A lot of dialogue, 3
Big,
cameras.
thick scripts. Yeah, right? So
It's a
we
wonderful opportunity, though.
did a little digging, and we have some evidence of you doing commercials. Take a look at this, gang.
Oh,
General Electric wants to show you what can happen when my picture leaves the broadcaster's control room. My color can change as my picture travels through transmission lines, satellites, and TV towers. So every GE VIR television uses computer-like circuitry to adjust my color on many programs according to the broadcaster's VIR color signal, automatically. This is GE Performance Television.
Very nice,
Bravo.
very nice. I'm sold. Where do we get one of those TVs? They
That
look
technology
fancy.
looks a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah, you just turn it on and you just hit the button, and kick
Yeah.
it when it doesn't work.
When it doesn't work, right.
Yes, right, exactly.
That's
A little
funny
more
you found
digging we
that.
did.
You
know,
did.
of course, back then when you watched that television, you had to make sure before you went to bed you had brushed your teeth. And who would know that? Ilene Kristen would know.
In this family, we use a fluoride toothpaste. But if a whitener will help get these girls married, I'm all for it.
Try new Gleam 2 with green sparkles. It's got fluoride and brighteners.
I'm the product of a broken home. Mom's for fluorides and Dad's for whiteners.
New Gleam 2 with green sparkles. It helps prevent cavities as well as the leading fluoride. Brightens teeth as well as the leading whitener. It's like 2 toothpastes in 1.
We have a multi-talented guest list here, folks. You haven't seen that in a while, huh?
Yeah. They finally put it on YouTube, which was so great. I didn't know that it could be found. And then about, I guess, a couple of years ago, somebody contacted me. And
yes, the GE commercial, I believe, was around 79-ish, 78, 79. And the Gleam was 1970. Could you imagine that?
God.
That was just 10 minutes ago. But you guys have done so much more too. And Malcolm, tell us about some of the other things that, you know, aside from Ryan's Hope. I mentioned a little bit in each of your bios, backgrounds, some of the extraordinary things you've done. When Ryan's Hope wrapped, what did you move on to? Did you move on to something right away? Did you take a little break?
I came out to California to try my luck out here, did a few guest spots.
Yeah.
But segued into looping, which is post-production sound, voiceover that's added to, whatever has been shot. It's sort of like the Foley. Foley is like sound effects, and looping is the voices that we either revoiced characters or did background, did announcements, whatever they needed in the production with additional voices. So I had a really long, thriving career with that, doing a lot of really good TV shows and films. And it was steady work, which was good. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Karen, how about for you when the series wrapped? What did you move on to next, or did you take a little break in between?
I left Ryan's Hope. Shortly after that, I got pregnant with twins, and they took up a lot of time. I still continued to do commercials, but I really focused on my children, and I'm so glad I did.
And related to a legendary last name in sports broadcast history and so much more, which is quite extraordinary, huh? That is incredible.
I mean, he had a wonderful career, but he traveled a lot. So I always felt like somebody needed to be countryside. Somebody needed to be here.
With the kids as well. Absolutely. Ilene, how about you when Ryan's Hope wrapped? Did you take a little bit of a break? I mean, you all of you have always worked so hard, you know, in your careers.
Not really. I did a lot of theater, a lot of off-Broadway stuff. And then I went on Loving about,
that's right.
I think it was less than a year later, or about a year, I was on Loving for a very fun-filled year. You know, despite the problems with that show, I had a glorious time. And I was so lucky I got to do the show with Walter Bobby, who I had done Grease with. He played my boyfriend. He's, you know, known as the director of Chicago. That's been running for, since like 1996. And Malcolm, you worked with Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understudied him. Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Yeah. I just got to go back a little just to tell you how exciting it was on the first day of Ryan's Hope when Malcolm walked in the room, because I had no idea that Malcolm was going to be doing the show. And we had a great connection from the Grease days. And Malcolm had been in a tough position. When you're an understudy, especially an understudy in Grease, it was not easy at all, correct?
Correct. Eight roles to understudy with different choreography, different harmonies. Yeah. And sometimes not a very welcoming group of people, as Ilene can attest to.
I tried to make sure that I welcomed and rehearsed with everybody who went on, but a lot of people didn't have that attitude for whatever reason. And if the understudy looks good, you look. It's just
it didn't make sense. I know.
it made absolutely no sense at all. And I know people could be very cruel, and that made no sense at all. But it was very exciting when you walked in the first day. Nancy Addison, who I knew, I knew Nancy very well. It was such a surprise and a shock. And then when Justin Dees came in, Justin had also been one of the Grease people. I didn't do the show with him, but I certainly knew him. So it immediately felt like a family. But I mean, Malcolm was so perfectly cast. I mean, there was a role of his own, you know, and nobody ever, ever, ever was able to, you know, be Patrick, you know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Thanks for sharing that story. You know,
Yeah.
for each of you, you know, you have your own certain memories about Ryan's Hope. What do you think it is about that particular daytime drama that still resonates with people, where they still want to know about it, the characters, they fondly remember it, even though it's not on screen? It was, of course, on SoapNet, as they resurrected a lot of the classic soap operas. And it's too bad they don't exist anymore, SoapNet. But that also introduced a whole new generation of people to some of these series, which I thought was fantastic. And you got a chance to go back and see like some of the earlier episodes of series like Another World and some of the other iconic ones as well. When you look at it, what do you think it is about Ryan's Hope specifically that resonated with people? Karen, I'll start with you.
It's the camaraderie. It was a very small studio. And the Ryans, the Irish Catholic, the New York grittiness of it, and with Bernie and Helen, who played Maeve and Johnny, they kind of just set the tone. We all just kind of were like, okay, they're it. More than I think the writers or the producers or whatever. It was Bernie and Helen, Maeve and Johnny, and there was a camaraderie that was very unusual. Do you agree, Eileen and Malcolm?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
It just, everyone worked really well together. Everybody appreciated each other's parts, their work ethic, and we taped it as if it were a live performance. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and everybody was always cheering for one another. It was unlike any other place that you would work.
Soap operas have changed so much. You know, when I was doing, I had a wonderful time doing One Life to Live, but then we started, you know, having, I'm running out of battery, but I'll go get my charger in a second. But first of all, the writing, Claire's writing, and Paul, you know, they came up with magnificent stuff. So it was very different from a lot of shows. But the cast was impeccably, as Shirley Rich. She knew who to bring into the show. Malcolm, you continue. I'm going to go get my battery.
Okay.
That's it. Absolutely.
Well, one
Yeah,
other thing
Fatima.
was that it was set in a real place. You know, that was groundbreaking. That was one of the groundbreaking things. It was set in New York City, and I think the first soap that was set in an actual place. Another very strong thing was the conflict of old world values, the Irish Catholic values that Maeve and Johnny held so strongly, with the modern problems of the younger people, of their children, you know. And so that was a very topical, very immediate thing for people to grab onto. Was that contrast?
The contrast, exactly. What was it like on set? What was a shoot day like? Of course, nothing, you know, is the same day to day, but what was it like on set and filming in the city and having that, you know, sort of as your backdrop?
It was great. It was very exciting. Occasionally we would get to do remotes out on the New York City streets. Yeah, basically, you know, the set of Ryan's Bar, which was the hearth and the heart of the show, and very New York, very Irish Catholic. And then you had the Coleridges, Faith and Roger and Jillian, and you had the link. Actually, my character linked the bar and the hospital, Riverside Hospital, which was set in really, was it Washington Heights, Eileen? Is that
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, a
Yes.
real neighborhood. And so, it was very appealing to people for those reasons, I think.
What did you love about playing that character, Malcolm?
Well, I loved, it's very interesting because first they wrote him as kind of like a playboy, very much a ladies' man. I don't know if you remember this, Eileen. He was
Yeah,
very
course.
different. And then they started to kind of tone him down and make him the nice guy. So that was a challenge. It was much more fun to play a ladies' man than just a nice guy. But yeah, it was nice to be able to somehow use that to shed light on the human condition, to the stories that I think that was one of the things about soaps that were so great, is they could deal with topical things and that people were dealing with in their lives, especially Ryan's Hope started doing that. And yeah, so shedding light on the human condition was what I feel the theme of the show was.
Mhm.
It's amazing, with anything like television or film, what have you, how the fan base becomes so extraordinarily loyal. I mean, they're with you every step of the way. They might even at that point write in, call the station, call the network, and give suggestions as far as what they think the storyline should be, who should be breaking up with who should be dating or marrying who. And when you see this fervor of support and energy for these types of, pretty much long running series, some of them still on today, The Days of Our Lives, and some of the Young and the Restless, some of these others that are just General Hospital, still just going. The incredible amount of people who feel very attached to the show, the storyline, the characters. When you first got into the soap world, did that surprise you at all? Or did you know there was going to be a real staunch fan base, people who really love the characters? And for you, Eileen?
Well, 2 weeks of the show going on the air, everywhere I went, people knew who I was. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. And a lot of rock and roll people, Bonnie Raitt and Warren Zevon and the guy from Captain Hook, and I just, people knew me wherever I went. It was really, it was a tremendous surprise. Tremendous.
How about you, Karen? Same thing?
And the thing is, they never knew your name. You were always the character. They'd yell out, "Hey, Faith!" Or and it was wonderful because they didn't know a thing about you, but they had a definite opinion about what was going on in your day to day on the soap opera, which I loved. And it was so great when you walk into a hospital. I mean, you were treated like royalty, or an airplane. They were just, well, you want to go up to first class? I mean, it was places like that you were just treated like royalty. It was heaven.
But would they ever ask you for medical advice if they had a cold?
I was an alcoholic pediatrician, so no.
Yeah. And you played that so beautifully.
I did, didn't I?
You did. I was in LA watching you do all of the alcoholic scenes. You were just so good in that whole storyline. Yeah.
And Malcolm, how about you, as far as just the fanfare and really appreciating the fan base and how loyal and energetic, vocal, committed that they are to soaps, daytime programming, things of that nature?
Yeah, it's kind of astounding. I had so many people come up to me and warn me about Delia. She said, "Delia's up to no good. I've been watching my stories and I got to tell you, be careful with her. She's doing this, she's doing that." Really, they were so enraptured in it.
Yeah.
And I actually had a hard time getting recognized. It was very scary to me at first. There was like 2 weeks after the show started, I was on a bus going downtown, and getting on the bus were like 20 parochial school girls in their little uniforms. And all of a sudden they all recognized me, or one of them recognized me. And then they just swarmed me, and it was like, and I had to get off. I came to get better at that, and use it as an opportunity to say, I appreciate that you watch it, and, bless your life, and, a chance to just really connect with people after that.
I've heard some stories with some shows, depending on what the show is, where sometimes somebody would be, shopping in a supermarket, and somebody would come up to them, a woman who's a real passionate lover of a particular show, and she would give, actually, it was a couple. Somebody recently was on the show, and they said it was the couple. And the wife knew that that was an actress who was playing a role, but the husband couldn't care less and wasn't buying it and saying, I can't stand her. And she's like, Harry, she's an actress. That's a role she plays on that series. I don't care. I don't like what she does. I can't. He couldn't separate the actor from the character. Have you ever experienced that?
I have, I suppose,
Yeah.
but sometimes, there were, okay. I did volunteer work at the Veterans Hospital, at first in the psychiatric department. I used to read plays with a lot of the people that were in the Veterans Hospital, and the psychiatric ward, they would get very confused. They actually believed that I was that character, and it was not a good place for me to be in. I ended up working with quadriplegics and paraplegics because it was really hard for them to be able to separate the things I had done on television, with who I really was.
Right.
So there was a problem with that.
You ever have that, Karen?
Upper West Side, and I was coming home and I had groceries in both hands. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these young kids came and they started grabbing the bags out of my hand. And, of course, it kind of takes you by surprise. And then all of a sudden, here comes this young girl. And she goes, stop it. She's on my story. Stop it. You leave her alone. That's Faith. And I thought, oh, thank you. And I was fine. And then they helped me walk home with my groceries. Okay.
See, is that amazing?
Yeah.
You ever
they
have
really
that, Malcolm?
thought of you as the person.
Person.
And that was, I thought, actually great. They didn't know, like I said earlier, they didn't know anything about you.
Right.
You were the person. You were that character.
Yeah.
How about you, Malcolm? You ever have that kind of experience where somebody couldn't separate you from the role, whether it's Ryan's Hope or anything else?
Well, with Ryan's Hope, people really related to me as though I were Pat. And, it was interesting. I was married at the time, my wife, Rebecca, and she said, we would be eating at a restaurant and somebody would come up and start talking, recognizing me. And she said I would immediately change and she would see me shapeshift into Pat Ryan. And I had no idea I was doing that. But I thought that was interesting that she would, perceive that I shifted into the character whenever there was a fan there. So
that's
a little
amazing.
different than what you were asking, but
no, but it makes sense. Yeah, that sometimes the shifts, they can't see that you actually can do that. It's quite amazing. Tom, what are some things that you learned not only about this beloved, groundbreaking daytime drama, the soap opera that you admired, but also the folks involved in it? Some of these beautiful people that are on the screen now, others, producers, writers, set designs. What are some things that you took away when you were writing this fantastic book?
Well, one thing is the change of the show. From the first 5 years, Claire Labine and Paul Mayer were the co-creators, co-executive producers, and co-head writers. So the show had a different feel to it. I didn't start watching the show until 1980, after Claire and Paul had sold the show to ABC. and General Hospital was taking off in the ratings, and it's the start of Dallas and Dynasty at night, so they wanted glitz and glamour and adventure storylines. So when I got on to started watching the show, there was a whole mafia plot, and when I actually accidentally found the show, there was Randall Edwards was playing Delia. Eileen had already left, and she reminded me of my favorite actress, Cara Lindley. And I sat there watching this thing, and there was a mafia plot, and I didn't know what I was watching, and then it turned out to be a soap opera, and it's like Ryan's Hope, that's a soap opera. So I kept watching it, and so for me, that glitz and glamour what attracted me to the show. And from writing the book, I started to learn about the push-pull between Claire and Paul and ABC, and the trying to keep it more homey and trying to go more, all of a sudden there was the Crystal Palace, and Delia was, in glamorous gowns, and there was Joe Novak, the sexy, suave mafia guy, and all the actresses were glammed up. Then there's an Egyptian storyline where everyone's in, there's an Egyptian ball, and they're all in these fancy costumes. I ate it all up at the time because, I was 18 years old, and, but writing the book, the other storyline that I ate up was a triangle between the older Ray Woodard, who was sleeping with her young stud assistant, Michael Pavel, who was secretly sleeping with her married daughter, Kim, who's married to Seneca. And that storyline became really popular, especially with college kids. People that I went to school with all loved that storyline. The old guard at Ryan's Hope did not love that storyline because they thought it was taking it away from the Ryan family and the Coleridges. And it was like a push-pull, and between ABC and Claire and Paul. So I learned all about that, and also when Claire and Paul came back and they tried to revamp the show back to 1975, but it was 1983, and this Irish Family Feud thing wasn't just, we weren't buying it. I mean, I watched, but it wasn't 1975 anymore. It was 1983. But then again, ABC took over, and they blew up Ryan's Bar, which, like Malcolm said, it was the heart of the show, and they switched the locale to Greenberg's Deli, and it was like totally killed it for a lot of fans and stuff. It was really, so I learned what was going on behind the scenes with all that stuff. And some of the people who I interviewed later on didn't get that camaraderie like Malcolm, Karen, and Eileen did. They felt like they were outsiders. A number of them, said they didn't feel welcome because, they were the ABC characters. They were not Claire and Paul's characters. So a lot of that comes out in the book. Some of them were able to fit in, like Callie Timmons, who played Maggie Shelby and stuff. Others always felt they were on the outside looking in. So there was a lot of, different stories and stuff. So I thought that was all good. And I kept it all in the book because, it wasn't all moonlight and roses.
Exactly right. Nothing tends to be, and you discovered some of that along the way as well, right? That it isn't, nothing is perfect, and there's a little hiccups here and there as things go along. Just a matter of keeping the train on the track, right?
Yes, and I thought, Claire and Paul, when they really compromised with ABC, like for me, like 1981, like one of the storylines I thought was the best was when Karen's Faith and her sister Jill went at each other because Faith was engaged to Frank. He pretty much left her at the altar because he still loved Jill. And that started the Jill Faith wars. Those were beautifully acted. And then when Faith became angry Faith, and she told off Jill, she told off Frank, she even told off Maeve in a great scene. But I had a friend, and she was aghast. She was like, Faith would never have slept with Jill's true love, and who aren't buying it. And this gal started watching the show in 1975. For me, starting in 1980, I loved it. I didn't have that backstory and stuff. So I think also, too, with the fans, if they were there from the beginning, they didn't like the changes in 1980, 1981, 82. I came in 1980 where ABC was trying to expand the audience to younger and, maybe male, too. There were guys that watched Ryan's Hope. I knew some of them and stuff, especially when Roscoe Bourne joined. as Joe Novak.
That's it. Brought in a whole new group of viewership. The sometimes on any of the soaps, the plots, the storylines, the things can be a little interesting and very, very dramatic, and sometimes realistic, and sometimes not so realistic. How did you guys feel about that with any of the storylines, Ilene?
Well, fortunately, I wasn't there to do the gorilla storyline, which I don't think that they would have done had I still been there. I found that I know the audience probably enjoyed it, but I thought that was I thought that was not good. And the shark, there was a takeoff on Jaws and everything. And I think when they say jumping the shark, they jumped the shark. And I didn't feel that it was ever necessary for that show. I think the turmoil that goes on with people and families, it to me is the most interesting thing. The dynamic, the family dynamic, that to me is much more interesting than doing special effects on a soap where we're not really equipped to do that. Things like explosions and stuff. It's done, but it's never done as well as nighttime. You have to do what I think. See, I think what was the appeal about Ryan's Hope, and I could be wrong about this, the scenes were usually about 8 to 12 pages. The audience was engrossed in listening to this dialogue. And as soon as MTV came in, they felt it had to be cut. When we were doing One Life to Live, we called them drive-bys. The scenes were like blah, 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 cut. They were so engrossing, some of the scenes, and so dramatic that, and I think it came back to that more I came back to the show in 86, and they started writing some incredible stuff. I don't know if you found that, Malcolm, when you came back. I felt that they had gone back to really writing some engrossing, 8, 9, 10 page scenes.
Yeah.
Real hand on writing. They really dived into the characters. They knew what worked. And if it didn't, if they felt the storyline wasn't working, they could pivot and change it. And it worked. They were always constantly staying, like you said, with the real humanness of those characters.
And was there any storylines that you thought were a little odd or different, Karen, along the way?
Comes to mind. Marie Carra, that whole Egyptian storyline was kind of out there, but it was fun. I mean, it was what it was. It was a paycheck, but it was odd.
And people loved it. So
how about you, Malcolm? Anything that was of interest in the same vein, a little different or unrealistic, or you just went with whatever was called for?
You had to go with whatever was called for. Occasionally, occasionally you could suggest things to the writers. Like when Mary was pregnant, I knew about this form of birth called Le Boyer, the Le Boyer method. And I mentioned it to Claire. She studied it and she put it in where, there's soft lighting. The baby is received and bathed and put on the mother's belly and things like that, where they would, be amenable to suggestions. Claire was like that at the beginning. Later, they had, the network in their ear and whatever. I was really surprised. I found out by reading the book that Claire wrote the gorilla episode. That was her story. And I thought that doesn't compute because her strength was in those really gritty one-on-one relationships and family dynamics. But
she did the Egyptian storyline too. That was.
Yes, because she'd gone to Egypt, right? And I read that in the book. Yeah.
Do you guys have favorite episodes that really speak to you, one or two, and then maybe a couple that those aren't necessarily my personal faves? Starting with you, Tom. Or Ilene, you got your hand up. She rose her hand.
When I was blind and I went on the cruise with I loved all that crew stuff and all, and the reveal of when Patrick threw the hairbrush and I caught it, and I was supposed to be blind. I would never be able to catch it. But I really, even though it was outlandish, the whole blind thing, but it worked. The whole storyline worked for me. That Delia would do something like that because she needed attention. So
I love that storyline. That was my favorite as well. You catching the brush, and I think Tom, I think you wrote in the book that that was one of the favorite episodes of the show.
Oh yeah,
ever.
Definitely. That was
yeah. It was culminating that whole blind thing into that one moment. Like, here, Delia, catch. And she catches the.
Also, one of the guys on the boat was, and I had a lot of comedic stuff with him, was Joe Bova, the actor Joe Bova. Right. But when I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, I was like a big fan of his. He had some children's TV shows. So to be working with him on the boat, he was like one of my icons from, childhood. The whole boat thing was really so much fun. Not easy.
Some of my favorite scenes are with Helen Gallagher when she give a tongue lashing to Ray Woodard, Delia, Joe Novak, Dakota Smith. I mean, I could watch those over and over because Helen Gallagher was beautiful. Amazing. And some of my favorite scenes are the fights between Karen as Faith and Nancy Addison as Jill when they just tear into each other. Because as I say it in the preface, when I started watching the show, I thought Delia was the heroine. And Frank, Jill, and Faith were always so mean to her. And I nicknamed Faith and Jill the Witches of Coleridge because I thought they were the villains. Until somebody schooled me, a friend of mine. She's like, no, you're not supposed to like Delia. You're supposed to like Faith and Jill. And I didn't know. I just started watching.
Played that character so beautifully because she was just maddening. You just she'd drive you crazy. But you loved her because you were so vulnerable. You were so needy.
Yeah,
you had that character down.
Yeah, it was so great.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another favorite of yours, Tom? And then a couple that weren't so,
I love. There was a scene where Delia was discovered that Delia got money to open the Crystal Palace from the mobster Tiso Novotny on the down low, and that was revealed. And the family, of course, is irate with her because Tiso rubbed out Mary Ryan. But she didn't know that when she took, and that was before, when she took the money. But Malcolm, I'm sorry, not Malcolm, Roscoe Bourne has a scene where he defends her. And he gives a whole speech in front of Johnny and Siobhan and Roger. And he goes, he talks about his uncle had a good heart. And he goes, I can't help it. I like her. And then Johnny goes, it must run in the family, which I thought was a great line. And I like that. And there's scenes with later on in '86 where Claire came. No, actually, Millay, Taggart, and Tom King created this quadrangle with Eileen as Delia, Ron Hales, Roger, Callie Timmons as Maggie, and Christopher Durham as Dakota. And it was the four dirty, rotten schemers on the show. And they're trying to outmaneuver each other, and it's funny, and there's gaslighting, and there's like, it was really good, and that was a really good storyline there.
Speaking of Dakota, Christopher Durham says hello to everybody. I spoke with him recently on the phone, and he's watching.
Oh, terrific! Welcome. Yeah. Nice to have you here on the Jim Masters Show. How about you, Malcolm? Are there a couple of favorites for you, and then anything that wasn't a favorite, or you just went with it all?
Well, I always wished they had written more for us, Karen, because we were star-crossed. We never really got together until the very last episode where you show up with a little girl that we think is mine, and all sorts of potential for them to finally write Pat and Faith. But one favorite thing I had was when I was Pat. See the separation. Ray Woodard had sent a crash cart or something into Pat, and he was knocked out, and then he had aphasia, and that was one of my favorite scenes favorite stories because I could play something other than the nice guy. I had some character stuff I could get into with him having a hard time talking and being a little off, And during that storyline too, Claire wrote an episode where Pat's astral body gets out of his body and starts walking around the room. And I thought that was a really cool forward thing to do on a soap opera.
How about you, Karen? Any particular favorites for you?
What comes to my mind is I always loved the scenes that we had in the bar. And maybe it's because everybody was usually there. It was a big cast. Storylines, I don't really remember I don't think I have a favorite, but I was delighted though when they took Faith, the goody goody, and gave her some meat, gave the character some, a voice within the family, the Coleridge family. I mean, those were just fun to play. And Nancy and I were so close, who played Jillian. We were so close. And those scenes were so much fun to do, those fight scenes.
Yeah, huh? Yeah. And Ilene?
Well, I had these incredible scenes with Ron Hale. Yeah. We were having an affair, but I was telling the family that I was going to Chinese cooking classes, and that I had this imaginary, that I had this friend Sheila that I would go to see, but I was always with Roger. And those scenes were, all the stuff with Ron Hale also was really wicked, great stuff. He was incredible to work with.
Malcolm, did you let that angry cat outside?
No, I was out of battery. I had to get my extension cord. Yeah, no, it's
wanted to be on screen. Hey, what about me?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like feeding.
No, I was running out of battery, so I had to do something.
Yes. What was it like, Malcolm and Ilene, being a part of the incredible franchise of Grease?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still very close with many of the people. In fact, we're doing a show out in Long Island because we had a book called Tell Me More that came out.
Right.
And I see Ken Wasteman, the producer, all the time. He comes to see me, and even if I'm doing a reading, somehow he's in the front row, which is just amazing. And I just did a show a couple of weeks ago, and there he was, a little musical. There he was. I just saw Mary Lou Henner. She was in the National Company, but we're pretty close. And Carol Demas, I'm seeing Carol next week. Grease was a phenomenon. It was a show that my father saw in the second preview and thought that it was a dismal failure. And it was going to be a huge flop, according to my father. And it turned into one of the biggest hits of anything, anywhere. It was amazing. I had a hard time during rehearsal playing Patty Simcox. I was playing a cheerleader. I swear to God, I never met a cheerleader in my life. I grew up like urban Brooklyn, and like I was a jazz dancer. I didn't know about cheerleaders at all. So I knew that I was very convincing in the audition, but the first week I could barely get a word out. I really, I had to learn to like this character.
Yeah.
And it was a character that I never saw. I never met a cheerleader. I swear to God, never met a cheerleader. So I didn't really know that mentality or that competitive nature. And so it was quite interesting, but it's been a 50-year experience that's been extraordinary. Really extraordinary, as this is.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that both Grease and Ryan's Hope came up with books right now at the same time. Like the past is like right here in the present.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What was it like for you being a part of it, Malcolm?
Well, as we were talking about, it was an understudy, so I never felt quite a part of the show, of the company. So, when I went on to do other things, I was kind of, I'd made some friends there, Ilene being one of them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the same experience for me as an understudy.
some viewers who are, watching maybe for other things that all of you have been a part of and read other books that Tom has penned. Malcolm, you also, and I think it's quite extraordinary, it's a beautiful thing, you've taken the spiritual path, and it's been important in your life as much as, the professional work in acting, and you've extensively studied the healing arts, and you're trained in various massage techniques, energy channeling, cranial sacral therapy, shamanistic healing, and you've traveled the world and done pilgrimages and so much more. Tell us about some of these other things that you've done that are quite extraordinary, Malcolm.
Yeah, my other life.
Yeah.
I think one of the most rewarding things about that was going to the Amazon and experiencing plant medicines with shamans in the Amazon, and life-changing experiences, which I was then able to bring into my healing work, because I've been doing healing work on and off since even before Ryan's Hope. I was doing energy channeling and things like that. So that's been a very important part of my life, and hopefully somehow that comes out in my acting. Some kind of inner life. So yeah, it's been quite an experience.
I would imagine it's also, since it is part of the healing arts, it's a nice balance to the limelight, to the lights, camera, action, and all the attention and everything that demands. This is something that is, very centering, very grounding. It doesn't have the superficiality sometimes that comes along with some of the work. And in this case, you can really plug into humanity and into yourself. It's a nice balance, isn't it?
Very much so. Excuse me.
It even gets you choked up talking about it.
I'm actually, pretty shy of being in the public eye. In fact, to do something like this is like, okay, let's pull this together and do this today. But my inner life and my spiritual work and my healing is definitely a counterbalance to the craziness of the industry.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you have stopped by, because that's why I say Eileen's been on the show, and we don't call these interviews, we call these conversations, warm conversations, free flowing, whatever direction we take it in. So I'm glad that you and Kat decided to pop in. And Karen, how about you? What have you been able to find as ways to balance the career, being in the industry, all the demands of it, the limelight? What are some of the things that you've done? Of course, raised a fabulous family. What are some things as well that you've turned to find that balance in life, which we're all looking for and we all need?
Had the career like that Ilene has had. I mean, you've stayed in this industry. I didn't. I stepped away from it. But I think the one thing that always gave me groundedness was coming from Wyoming, and I came from a ranch, so it was out in the middle of nowhere. So that was my groundedness. I could always go back and get a sense of reality of what life really was. And I'm still very involved with the ranch. We've lost our parents, so myself and my two sisters were running the ranch, and which is a humbling experience. But it's fun. It's fun.
That's fantastic. And passionate and lively Ilene. What do you do? What is your counter? What do you turn to balance the limelight, the attention, and the energy it takes to do this kind of work all these years?
I go to yoga.
Yeah.
I do a lot of yoga. I did Bikram yoga for 12 years. My Bikram studio is no longer on the West Side, so now I go to a place called Pure Yoga, and I try to do a yoga class every day. My hobby is songwriting. I'm pretty good at it when I do it. I can't write all the time, but that's been a great hobby to have.
That's fantastic.
Good song.
That's great.
Eileen's volunteer work. I just have to mention volunteer work, like what you did with the children's shelter those years. So that was definitely the way you gave back.
Yes, for at least 4 years, I ran an arts program at the Prince George Hotel, which was a homeless shelter. I'm still friendly with a lot of those kids. Antoine is still in my life. There's some of the parents. I still speak to them. So that was an incredible thing. And Claire was sensitive enough to write a storyline. And Antoine was on the show for several months, and about 10 of the other kids were on the show also. So that was quite, Claire was very sensitive to what was going on in our personal lives. I had a wonderful time the last 4 years of doing the show. I had an extraordinary time because I had matured. It was very difficult the first couple of years because I had such an emotional load on me. And being one of these kind of happy-go-lucky kids, all of a sudden to have to cry all the time was very difficult for me. So the last 4 years, I had a lot of comedic stuff to do, some musical numbers. It was really, it was a blast, really I had a good time.
That's fantastic. You mentioned Brooklyn. What is in the water in Brooklyn? So much talent has come out of Brooklyn, New York. It's incredible, Streisand and Manilow and on and on and on
Mae
and on.
Mae West, Stanwyck. It's amazing. Every time I see another person, a very famous person that was born in Brooklyn, I'm always like kind of shocked. It's a very big borough. Very large.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, I just want to mention also with the book, and again, congratulations on the book. And this is just one of several that you've written as you pay homage to, as a film historian, as much an author, to, the classic stuff of the 60s and the 70s and television and so much more. In the book itself, which is quite exciting, it features the words of the stars that we see on our screen right now, Malcolm and Eileen, Karen, also Helen Gallagher and Ron Hale and Michael Levin, Anna Alicia, Roscoe Bourne, Catherine Hicks, Jeff Pearson, Andrew Robinson, and Gordon Thompson, along with the writers, the producers, the production crew, family members, and never before seen photos and plot synopsises that I think soap opera fans find really exciting, and even an insider account as somebody that's captivated as the writer and the person who put the book together. You really compiled so much information in this book.
Yeah, it was like doing a jigsaw puzzle, to be honest, because I as I was writing it and I was getting new interviews, I had to insert people. I wanted to make it like a conversation. Because I used to like Entertainment Weekly when they would write about making of a movie, and then they would, the director would say this, at one of the actors would say that. So that's what the format I really tried to follow, and because it makes it easier to read. But there was another book out that did sort of the similar thing, but mine, I think I added more text to mine because I had a friend read it at the very, very beginning. And I thought I had too much text on the synopsises. And she's like, oh, no, you need to keep those. Are great. She goes, especially your little jokes here and there about the storylines. She goes, you're not, you call it like it is. If it was good, it was you say it. And if it wasn't good, you say that too. So, and then like I said, as I interviewed people, I'd stick them in. And if I got somebody out of the blue, I would, highlight them as much as I could. Because I had people like Malcolm and Eileen, they're on for years, but I interviewed people like Ariana Munka, who played Amanda Kirkland. She was on like for 4 months. Duncan Campbell, who played Tiger Bennett, was on for like 3 months. So I need to give those people their voice too. So so it was like a jigsaw puzzle, but I had a lot of fun doing it, and people seemed to like it. And the other thing was I was limited to 300 pages. And when I turned in the manuscript, this is because at the last second, like I said, I got Karen and I got Malachi McCourt. And I told the editor, look, I said, I got these last two. I said, their interviews are great. I said, I'm going to just give you everything. It's 400 pages. So I said, read it and let me know. So they read it and they're like, okay, we're not going to cut it, but no more interviews. That's it. And so they were the last two that slipped in.
Was it hard to put, I always ask people that write books, memoirs, whatever it is it harder to get started and put those first words on the paper? Or is it harder to know when to put the last period on the last sentence, be done with it, maybe a couple of rewrites, but be done with it and be able to walk away from it and then allow your baby to be released out into the public? What's more difficult for you? And I asked that because I actually had a guest that actually threw me off, and they said, well, you know what, Jim? It wasn't the beginning. It wasn't the ending. It was the middle that was difficult for them. They knew what they wanted for the beginning. They had an idea how they wanted to end it, but bridging those two worlds together, they found the difficult part. How about for you?
Well, because I was doing something that lasted 13 years, I first came up with the chapter titles because being a fan of the show, I knew like the various portions where it changed from the writers and stuff. So that's how, if you look at the titles of the chapters, like I picked out the big things. But for me, it's never ending because I have the book and I'm still finding little mistakes here and there that I am accumulating just in case it goes to a trade paperback. So I can make more corrections. So for me, it's never ending. I'm never satisfied and stuff, but there will be no more interviews. That's for sure. but yeah, it doesn't end for me. But yeah, no, when I did it, I laid out the chapters. I started filling in the history and the synopsises, and then I started plugging in the people. Like I said, I got Eileen, Malcolm, and Roscoe Bourne were like the first three, and I started to plug them in. And then, as I got more and more people, there we are. I just kept it going. And then, like I said, I would highlight the storylines and the people that I interviewed and stuff. So, and then some people I did 2 interviews, like Kelly Maroney, who plays Kimberly Harris, forgot I interviewed her like in 2017. And when I told her about the book coming out, she totally forgot, and we did another interviews to add more because she was very excited that I sold the book and stuff. So sometimes there was a double interview. And Malcolm, I was bothering Malcolm for a number. I would email Malcolm all the time for like, Malcolm, could you give me a comment about so and so and Hannibal Penny Jr. or Justin Dees? So thank you, Malcolm. You were very helpful.
It was my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you, Tom.
What are some other things you guys are currently working on as well, separate from what we're talking about now? Things with the new year and all that you're excited about that you might want to share?
I'm excited to do nothing for the next 2 weeks. After I do this Greece thing out in Long Island, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break.
Nice.
I did
earned.
Yeah, I did a film last week. I only worked 1 day on it. It was freezing cold, and we were working without coats. And it was supposed to be a Christmas scene. I have no idea why we were not allowed to wear coats, and I got extremely sick from doing that. So this is my first day that I actually feel better. So I think I need a little bit of a rest, just a little.
It's nice. Yeah, you got to have that me time and time to just reboot and refresh. How about Karen? How about for you? Any things you're working on or things that you have coming up that you're excited about? And I tell you, if I were you, I wouldn't move away from where you are, that comfortable living room, that beautiful fireplace. I wouldn't go anywhere.
Get ready for Christmas. We have 3 grandchildren, which is an absolute delight. Wow. And the oldest one is almost 5. And then we have a 3-year-old and then a 1-year-old. So this is going to be such a fun year with all of this happening. And so I'm just really excited for that. And all our children are around here. In fact, my younger daughter works at iHeartMedia.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's great.
But the older girls, they're all around here, so I get to see the kids all the time. So.
She behind the scenes or on air? Or?
She's in digital. No, she's not on air.
Yeah,
She
good
should
place
be,
to
but she's not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you? Yeah, I was going to say, do any of you have other members of your family that are in the entertainment world or performance or the arts? Malcolm, Karen, Eileen, and even Tom.
I was the oddball in my family. No.
Yeah.
The breakout kid. The breakout.
Nobody else is a performer in my family, but my cousin Ken Levin was a major property master out in California. Did a lot of projects. Did a lot of TV shows. So
Yeah.
I have a cousin, Steve Petra, who's a ventriloquist.
Ventriloquist. I love ventriloquists.
Yeah. And I have a cousin, Dan Pellerin, who's a singer songwriter in Nashville.
Oh, really?
Wow. And then there's that's pretty much it.
What would be one hidden talent about each of you? It could be cooking, it could be gardening, it could be anything that the average viewer maybe doesn't know about you. I'll start with you, Tom.
God.
Do you sing?
To be honest, this was my hidden talent because I didn't start writing until the mid 90s. And, because I was always I flunked out of accounting because I had a writing class and I created my own soap opera, Roxbury Heights. And in my accounting class, I would be writing for this. But I was shy and I was embarrassed about my writing. So I kind of that was sort of my hidden talent. And then it just kind of came out in the 90s and it's been blaring its head ever since. But yeah, so other than that, no, I don't sing or anything or draw.
Eileen, how about you?
Well, I would be a good costume designer.
Yes, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if it's that I like costuming myself for shows, but I think I have ideas about other people's costumes all the time.
Yeah.
So it's I kind of do it. I kind of help people.
I was going to say, do you get a chance to practice some of that, get involved in that?
A little bit. I always do my own costumes for the other projects that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I will stop at nothing to find the right item of clothing or the right wig. So I have a collection of about 60 wigs, and I have so many weird clothing items in my closet.
So basically, if Bob Mackie hadn't suggested Carol Burnett wear the curtain rod, you would have?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's very clever. He's quite brilliant.
Bob Mackie,
I'm not at that level, but...
Right, yeah. How about you, Karen? Any other things that you enjoy that, whether it's singing, cooking, gardening, baking?
No, we can just leave baking aside. I love cooking. Because you have to follow directions with baking.
Right.
You can't just wing it. So I love cooking, and spend a lot of time at the ranch. So that is actually a great love. And the horses and just being out there. Always love to sing, still love singing. And that's about it. Yeah. Just
very nice.
Family.
Yeah, that ranch takes a lot of your time, I'm sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful place to absolutely be. Malcolm, how about you? And you're very comfortable. It's just a warm, you look like you're in some sort of an inn in like New England somewhere. It's in Topanga, which is a beautiful part of California, but it looks just so comfortable there.
Oh, well, good. It is comfortable. And
yeah.
It's my favorite place to be these days is home. Besides the healing work, I've been vegan for a number of years, and so I've had to learn how to cook good vegan food. So I kind of pride myself on that now, and I do because I live on an acre of land. There's a lot of plants and gardening, landscaping, so that takes up a lot of my time. So those things, yeah.
Very nice. Well, before we go, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, what would be maybe one wish that you hope for the holidays and maybe for the new year for, our world and just some positivity, some inspiration going forward. You are all artists. You have all brought entertainment, joy, pleasure. You've had us think, you've had us cry, laugh through not just Ryan's Hope, but through all the other things that you've had an opportunity to do in your lives. And sometimes we always need a little bit of positivity and inspiration when things are a little nutty. You could pretty much you couldn't script, I think, on a soap opera a lot of what's happened over the last several years in the world and in our lives. What would be some positive things going forward with the new year, the holidays here, that you might want to share with our viewers here at the Jim Master Show? Or start with you, Ilene.
Well, the situation in Ukraine and in Israel is so unbearable, and I hope we see an end to it. Both situations are so extremely difficult, but it's I think it creates a sadness in most of us a lot, and particularly living in New York with the Israeli situation, it's very hard. There are a lot of Israelis here. It's very difficult, and I feel for the Palestinians, the Israelis, the Ukrainians. So I hope world peace, world peace. We're closer to world peace than we are right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Karen, how about you?
The exact same thing. It's just overwhelming what's going on in our world right now. Sometimes it's almost too much to take in, but we can't turn a blind eye. We can't turn a blind eye. We've got to be aware.
And together, come together, right? Collaborate, listen to one another. Everybody's welcome at the table. We might not all get everything we want, but if we all get a piece of the pie, when we slice the pie up, it makes the world a little bit more tolerable, pleasurable. And you guys have brought so much pleasure into the lives of so many others just through doing what you do, and you do so well, your craft, your choices in life. And I think that even having conversations like this with levity, I'm big about laughing. You also have to laugh. You've got to breathe. You got to take some time away. Like Eileen's going to take some time for herself, and Karen's on the ranch, and Malcolm, you have what you have going on, and the healing arts. It's all beautiful. And Tom's writing and writing and writing. Malcolm, for you, what would be a message through the holidays and as we approach the new year, something positive you'd like to leave with the viewers?
Well, I would like to repeat what Ilene and Karen both said about the world situation and maintaining that balance of living a good life and still being in touch with what's going on. That can be quite a balancing act sometime. I probably, would quote Helen Gallagher in terms of the fans, anybody watching the show, and her last line that she had lived at the end of Danny Boy on that last episode was, "Have a good life." So it's just, I wish that for everybody who's watching this, that they find their own inner peace and have that inner strength to go through these current times that we're going through, which are very rough.
Very difficult.
And Tom, how about you?
I'm going to say something a little more personal. This was the first book that I ever wrote that got people to former cast members back together. This is like the fourth Zoom one. And I like that I was able to bring people back together to talk about the show. And it's spurred me to do another soap opera book that I hopefully will do the same thing. It was just very touching for like I said, seeing Karen, Malcolm, and Ilene today. And there was, like I said, 3 other shows that various cast members got together. And I find that, I like that I brought these people, back, together to look back on a time in their lives that they, was a really fun time. So I hope I could do that for another show.
What's the other show? We're jealous.
The only
What's
other
the other
show
show
that I watched other than Ryan's Hope was Texas. But I have to expand it a little bit more. So it's going to be about NBC and
Beverly
Richard
McKinsley, right? She was Iris
Yes,
on
Beverly
Another
McKenzie
World,
is
and then they
Iris.
spun it off.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more about Texas, NBC's problems in the ratings. They created Lovers and Friends, which became For Richer for Poorer. Then Another World expanded to 90 minutes, and then they got Texas. So it's sort of going to be a combination of those. Richard Backus, who played Barry Ryan, was interviewed for my book. He was on For Richer for Poorer. He was on Another World. So we made contact today.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed a number of people so far from Texas. Yeah, and it's not as groundbreaking as Ryan's Hope, not as famous as Ryan's Hope, but I liked it. It was underrated. And I thought, well, if they like the book about Ryan's Hope, they might like one about Texas, and maybe do the same thing for the people on Texas as I've done for Ryan's Hope.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's always wonderful how the soap operas, knowing that the connection fans have to the characters, when a character would pass away, a performer would pass away in real life, that some of the series would actually address that, acknowledge that. And one that really came to mind was when Douglas Watson passed away in Another World. Matt Corey, who had been with it for so long, and how they went through the motions with the viewers, with the cast, and actually had a funeral on set and all of that. And you felt the loss, and they did the same thing with Constance Ford when she passed just a few years after Douglas Watson. And of course, there were cast that passed with Ryan's Hope as well. And that's a beautiful thing, right? When they do that, because sometimes they just write the person off. They moved out of town and they're gone. But when, it's a gift to the viewers, I think, to be able to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You guys are
Tom, that
great.
you pull us all together. This has just been amazing. It really, truly is a gift for me.
Me too. So great to see you, Karen, and
pleasure.
you, Eileen. I love you both so much.
I love you both too.
Well, like we said, gang, levity, right? It's all about love and levity. Levity. You guys are the best, truly. This is Eileen's return visit, and we love her. And this is Tom's first, and he worked with me to put some of this together as well, and to welcome you, Karen, and you, Malcolm, to the Jim Masters Show Life series. It was really absolutely beautiful, and I appreciate it. It's a holiday time. We're all busy, but to sort of join us in this mini reunion, celebrate Tom's fabulous book, and to tell us a little bit about some of the things that you guys are doing in your own lives. It was very, very special, and we appreciate all the time and wish you nothing but continued joy and blessing in your life. And you're all welcome back to stop by here in Lovety Hall, as we call it, anytime, my friends.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Great.
You are very welcome. You take care and be well, and we'll see you again soon. And Tom, one more time, congratulations on this book.
You.
And keep us posted when you write the next one. We'll do another.
Great.
All right. Malcolm, thank you very much. Be well. You take care.
Be well. Thank you, Jim.
All right. Karen, thank you as well. It was really, really fantastic. You take care. The incomparable Eileen. Good to see you again, my friend. And thank you for all the time as well. I appreciate it. And everybody loves you.
I'll get you some more guests.
I appreciate that. Absolutely. And we're all in the same vicinity pretty much. So hopefully we'll get to have dinner in the city. I would love to do that with you guys.
Love it.
That would be awesome. Best of the holidays. And thanks for all the time tonight.
Thank you. Thanks to Tom.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eileen.
You did it. You did it.
Did it. High five, gang. High five. There we go. I felt that. You have warm hands. Thanks, Eileen. And Tom, thank you. And one more time, congratulations on the book, my friend.
Thank you so much.
And spread the word about our show. If you know others you think would like to pop on, they're welcome to join us here at the Jim Masters Show.
Thank you.
Amazon and everywhere else they can get the book, and other books you've written as well, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. You be well, and congratulations on all.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thanks, Tom. All right, here's the book, Up Close and Personal, folks. And again, you can go to Amazon. It is there. It is fantastic, and it really celebrates a lot of what we've talked about on this episode of the Jim Masters Show Life series. What an extraordinary, as we say, conversation here on the Jim Masters Show with these very special and beloved guests. And maybe the first time you've seen Tom on air. That is absolutely wonderful. I do want to make a quick programming note that coming up next week, Sharon Gless is stopping by the Jim Masters Show. Yes, an iconic celebrity fashion designer, David Joseph, is going to be stopping by, and Adrian Zmed was here recently. Check out that episode with Adrian Zmed. And coming up tomorrow, another fabulous actress, Nicole Oliver, is going to be with us, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. On Thursday, Michael Stern, who was the #1 fan of Lucille Ball, he wrote this fabulous book, I Had a Ball. I got a chance to meet him when actually I was on a TV shoot in Burbank. Lucille Ball said he was her #1 fan. He got a chance to visit her on set on Here's Lucy way back. She invited him to the house for backgammon. They became friends, and he wrote about it. And that's going to be coming up on Thursday. And again, there's about 1,035 episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live series that you can see in the archives. Thanks for all the great comments, everybody. You were very active in the JMS Levity Hall, and we really appreciate all of this as well. And thank you, Tom, for the book. Absolutely. And Pam was here as well. Kathleen, watching in New York City, says, thanks to all for being here. Such a great conversation. Loved it. The book sounds amazing. Yes, the book you can get on Amazon. And again, he's penned some other fabulous books as well. Michael K says, have a good life. Yes, we talk about that as well. Jane, watching in Sweden. Thanks for being here tonight. Thanks, Jim. Good night, all. Thanks to you as well, watching in Sweden. And all these great comments coming in. Austin Field watching. Thank you as well. And we appreciate it. This was awesome, gang. Thanks for being with us. If you enjoyed this episode of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series, we would love it if you give us a like on the YouTube channel. There's a big thumbs up. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Very important to hit the thumbs up. The one that points up. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. It doesn't cost anything. And leave a comment for us as well. If you enjoyed this episode, if you're a super soap opera fan, a Ryan's Hope fan, a fan of these fabulous guests, maybe you've read some other books by Tom, or maybe there's other daytime programming that you've enjoyed, including the game shows. We've also talked a lot about game shows. Matter of fact, real quick, I want to wish Wink Martindale, who's been a guest on our show twice, once when it was just he and his wife, Sandra, and once when we did the tribute to Bob Barker, 90th birthday this week. Wink Martindale, game show legend. Happy birthday from all of us at the Jim Masters Show Live series. We love you, and many years of continued good health. Great having you here, everybody. Thanks for all of the comments. Drop a comment, subscribe, share the Lovity, tell everybody you know about our series, and come back and see us again soon. As I mentioned, tomorrow we're on a little bit earlier because we're going to the John Tesh concert. You may remember John Tesh was a guest on our show recently, and his Christmas tour is happening, and we're going to be at that concert. We're going to catch up with John tomorrow. He was a guest on our show just a couple of weeks ago. You can see that full episode. He was very open and real about his life, his time as co-host of Entertainment Tonight, and everything else that he has done. And really cool. We thank our very special guests, Tom Lisanti, Ilene Kristen, Karen Morris-Gowdy, and Malcolm Groome from Ryan's Hope. And of course, Tom, the author of this wonderful book, An Oral History of Daytime's groundbreaking soap, Ryan's Hope, which of course was on ABC for a number of years and had a real strong fan base. A lot of people really followed that series and still follow. You know, we've had Sean Kanan. We've had other soap opera stars on our show from some of the other soaps. And Sean Kanan's been on several times, and so many others. But some soaps that still continue, of course, The Bold and the Beautiful, and Days of Our Lives and GH. And it's an interesting format. And the fact that there's still some of that format on television for viewing is really amazing. And Michael K., thank you for all your time. Enjoy the conversation. Michael K., welcome to the Jim Masters Show. Lovity family, you're part of the Lovity Squad now. We appreciate you being here. And anybody that joined us for the very first time, who's brand new, you're now part of the Lovity family, and we welcome you. And again, if you enjoyed this episode, let everybody know, give it a thumbs up. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, be sure and click the notification bell so you never miss any of the episodes, because we also send out, like a notification about the episodes, the times, and who's on and all that, and keep abreast of our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, to see who's coming up and all the rest. Tomorrow, again, an earlier episode, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Nicole Oliver is going to be here. We're very excited about that. Brilliant actress and voiceover artist extraordinaire. And Thursday, Michael Stern's going to be here. We're going to talk Lucille Ball and so much more. And as I said, next week, Sharon Gless from Cagney and Lacey and so much more. She's stopping by the Jim Masters Show. But go and peruse the other episodes that we've done already. They're all archived on our YouTube channel. Check out some of the past episodes. I think you'll enjoy yourself. You will have a ball. All right, Jim Masters here. Thank you for your time this time. Till next time, we're going to scoot out, wrap things up. We thank our fabulous guests, and we thank all of you. Be well, take care of one another, love one another, and come back and see us again here at Lovity Hall and the Jim Masters Show Live. This is Jim Masters. Take care and be well, and cheers.